Hey gang, welcome back to Fishing with JC. Today we're going to upgrade our Garmin Livescope to the new perspective mode. You may be familiar with the down and the forward facing views, but now we've got a new and exciting perspective mode. And with this perspective mode you can go out 150 degrees looking forward, and it'll go out at least 200 feet in front of your boat and show you all of the activity that's in front of you. Now, this is best served in shallow water. You can do it in deep water, but it really shines in the shallow water. You'll be able to see bait fish and also identify gaming fish like muskies or bass or catfish. And then you can also see your lure, so you can actually see the fish swim up behind the lure and even strike. In order to take advantage of this perspective mode, you'll need a compatible Sonar chart plotter, and you can get that list from Garmin. I'm currently using the Echomap series Plus. You have to use the Plus or newer, the earlier models won't work. You also need the LVS-32 Transducer and blackbox combo. That's the actual Livescope. And then the last thing you'll need is a perspective mode mount. I guess you could get away without using that, but I highly recommend you use that mount. Now that we know what we need to do the upgrade, let's talk a little bit about what we will be doing. First thing we'll be doing is going and downloading the update, and I'm going to be using instructions for Windows. There's also instructions for Mac if you have a Mac system, but we're going to be doing this for Windows. So first thing we'll do is we'll go download the software update, and then we're going to put that on a freshly formatted FAT32 SD card, and it's going to be from a 4 GB to a 32. And I highly recommend that you go ahead and clean it, format it, and make sure that it's fresh to go. Don't have anything on there. It just makes it less confusing. And then after we do the download, we'll take it to the Sonar unit, we'll insert it in there and do the upgrade. After that, I'll show you the instructions on how to actually mount the mount so that you can put it into the perspective and also put it back into the down and forward view. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So let's go to Google and let's type in Garmin Panoptix Livescope update, or just Panoptix update. And there it is. We're going to click that. You can see it's the first selection here. We're going to click on this link, and this will be the update. You've got one for Echomap and you got one for GPS. Since I'm using Echomap, we're going to click on the download next to the Echomap, and this is the software version that we want. It's 922 megabytes. There's a view installation instructions here. If we click on that, this will give you all the instructions. It's basically saying download it, save it to your card, your SD card, power on your device, insert the card, and then let the update happen. So if you want to pause this and read through that, make sure you understand this. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the setup right now. So we're going to scroll back up to the top, and we're going to click on the download link here. It'll start downloading down here. Once this is finished, we want to left click that arrow, and it's going to say show in folder, and this will pop up, and you can see right there is our execution file that we just downloaded. Now what I want to do is switch over. I've got my card in. It's a 32 gigabyte card. I want to go ahead and format it to FAT32. So just leave it at that default value. See, mine's 32. You can put a volume in there if you want, a name. Leave it as quick format. Click OK, start. Click OK. This will erase everything. We're going to say OK to that. We're alright. We want it to be clean, and then we're going to say it's formatted. OK. We're going to close that out. Now we're going to switch back over to our download folder. We're going to double click this executable file that we just downloaded, and this will start extracting the information that we want. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take that and we're going to save it onto the SD card once it's down extracting. So now we'll click next. I accept. Next. Right there we've selected the card. Mine's the I, yours could be something different. You might even have to click on that find card, but just select the card that you inserted. You have to have a card reader for that, most likely, unless your computer accepts it. And then once this transfer is done, we're going to click finish. And now we're going to switch back to our SD card, and you can see here's a Garmin folder and there's our update. So now what we're going to do is we're going to right click our eye, which is our SD card, and we're going to eject it. It's always good to do that. And then we're just going to close everything out. Now we're going to go over to our Garmin unit. We're going to power it on. Now mine are networked, but when I upgrade on one, it'll upgrade the other. So once this pops up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my tray and insert the SD card into it. So just give us a second. We're going to agree to this. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up this tray here, and notice how I'm going to insert the card. The brass connector rings are to the left. I'm just going to slide that right in. Don't force it, and just kind of push it in softly. Wait a couple of seconds, and then you're going to get an update software selection. We're going to click that, and it's going to start updating. I'm kind of going to jump through this. Now I did get an error there. You can see how my other one hooked up as well, but it did update to the 13.30. So it says update complete, select OK. And then we're going to let it power up. That's going to load your maps. And that's just my map version there, 2018. Now it's up. I'm going to click agree. And I'm going to settings, system information, software update, and then there's my 13.30. I'm going to go home. Go over to my other one and check it as well. It should be 13.30. So settings, system information, software information. There's software version 13.30. I'm just going to click home. Now we're going to check our Panoptix. So select Panoptix. Then we're going to click menu, Sonar setup, installation, and then the orientation is what we want there. Set to auto. We're going to select the perspective mode, and then there you go. Success. Let's go ahead and mount the transducer to the new mount, and these will be the items that you'll need. I went ahead and unhooked the transducer from the existing mount that I had, and we'll have a new mount that will attach to this. And I find that if you just use Lysol cleaning wipes, you can clean up the transducer really well. The one on the left here is the old one, and the one on the right is the new one. I thought about using the old one, but you'll want to use the new one because they have a slightly different angle. So what you're going to do is you're going to mount this to the pole or your trolling motor, and these will be the items that you'll need. All your bolts. As you can see, it's got an SP and it's got an arrows pointing up. So you'll want to use the arrows. You want to use it in a way that the arrows are pointing up, and then it'll just wrap around the pole or your trolling motor. I like it fixed. I like it to be fixed, but you can put it on the trolling motor. And you just want to go ahead and insert your bolts, and then just very, very lightly tighten these in just to get it to hold. And then that'll hold it in place until you can put the other bolts in. And just go ahead and insert the other two bolts and get the thread started. And then when you start doing this, you want to go in a crisscross pattern. So upper left, lower right, upper right, over left, lower left. So just crisscross them and only tighten them a very little each time. You don't want to torque them down one bolt at a time. You want to just keep crisscrossing until they're nice and snug. Once you got them snug, go ahead and you'll see you'll have two sets of braces and stickers. You'll have one for the starboard side and you'll have one for the port side. So decide which side yours on. Mine's on the port side, which is the left side, so I'm going to be using that. And then these are the items that you'll need. So, and again, you can put it either on your trolling motor, or I have this mount, and I'll link that in the description. So now you've got an arm, and you've got a connector that goes to your transducer, and then the other end of it was going to go to your mount. And then you can see I've got my port side there, and this is how you can tell which one goes on the transducer. It's the one with the white arrow. And then once you've cleaned your transducer, you want to get your sticker and line it up. And you can tell where it goes here because the circle there is cut out. And if you spin it around, you'll notice that it won't fit anywhere. So there's only one way this one can go on. And the stickers are different. The starboard's going to go on the other left side, and this is going to go on the right side. So you want to line that up and then clean up your transducer really well so that there's no dirt and debris. And right there is the way we're going to go ahead and set that in. So now I've cleaned my transducer really well. I'm going to peel back a corner, get it lined up. Make sure you get this lined up right, because once it goes on, it's on and you're not going to be able to take it off. So there's what it's going to look like in the port side. Now I'm going to go ahead and line this up. I went ahead and put it on the perspective mode. I'm going to get my bolt and my washer and my rubber washer, and I'm just going to line this up. When you put that on, there's a bit of a snap there. That rubber has to go over that bolt. So just kind of shove it down in there until it snaps in place. And then you can see that's the alignment that you want. Then go ahead and stick this down into the hole and slide it down into the threads and get that started. And just finger tighten that as much as you can. Once that's finger tight, go ahead and get your Allen wrench and then tighten that down. You don't want to torque on this really hard because you won't be able to move it, but you want it tight enough that it doesn't come off. So just tighten that down fairly well, and then you can test it by just clicking it. It should just click fairly easily, but not too easily. So just make sure that will move back and forth. Okay. So I'm happy with that. I've got it in the perspective mode. At the bottom here, your wires, I put a wire tie, but I made it very, very loosely. You don't want to torque on that. You can also use tape if you want. So now we're going to go ahead and put the other end around our brace and then put our bolt in there and tighten that down. There we go. And the same with that, you want to torque on that a little bit, not too awfully hard. If you torque on it too hard, it'll strip it out, or it won't be able to move. So because you want this arm to swing up. Another thing I noticed is you have to make sure that the cord is a way that you can move it back and forth, because that's going to flip from that forward-facing view. You're going to spin it down. You want to make sure that your cord doesn't get hung up. So that's what it'll look like in the finish. Let's go ahead and move it down to the perspective mode. So I'm going to flip it up to perspective mode, and then I'm going to flip it down. And here's where I'm talking about the cord. You got to make sure that doesn't get caught. There we go. Now that'll be your perspective mode. So there's 2 clicks on it. And that's what the finished product will look like. Again, you could have this also on the starboard side on your trolling motor if you want. Now that we have everything installed, let's go out on the water and see what this looks like. Here's the video from Salt Fork, and we're back behind this little embankment. I believe this is a water treatment plant. We keep contacting these muskies. There's like 2 of them up in here, and in the video you'll see them swimming around. Here's one fish swimming in the front, and you can see the shadow on the bottom. And over to the left there's another muskie swimming. We think it's a muskie, but there's a couple of muskies in this area, and we keep contacting them, and eventually we raise one and get it to come out and follow. But we just kept playing with this fish, and over we kept seeing them on the graph. And we knew they were there, so without the Panoptix, we probably wouldn't have realized. Now right there you can see the bait just, I swam it by and you can see the shadow on the bottom. It's pretty cool. Right there I have circled is a muskie.
There's a shadow on the mouth. There's a fish out there too.
As you can see, that muskie just keeps swimming back and forth. It's really long and it's close to the bottom. You can see the shadow is just really close to the bottom. It's close to its body. So if the separation, if you see a lot of separation between the fish and the shadow, then you know that it's kind of higher up in the column.
Just a little bit to the left, actually.
That's a nice muskie. We end up raising that fish, and it was a nice one. It was pushing 40. But they just kept swimming back and forth, and eventually we pull up another one too. We see another one on the scope, and we actually see two of them. There's my lure coming across there in the lower bottom of it. So if you have a muskie come up and follow that lure, you're going to be able to see that, which is kind of good.
Ow, cramping my feet.
Well, there you have it. That's how to upgrade your Panoptix Livescope to the perspective view. I hope you're able to do it. If you have any questions, please drop them down into the tile section down below, and I'll answer as best I can. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe. Help me grow my channel, and we'll see you on the next one.